Hello friends, today we will discuss about organizational pattern of hospital. Objectives: on completion of this period, you would be able to learn organization, principle of organization. Introduction. Hospitals are complex institutions dealing with not only patient care but also involved in R&D and professional education. Their main objective is to provide quality health care. Like an industry, hospital is an unique place where patients of all ages and background interact with physicians, therapists, pharmacists, nurses, pathologists, and administrators. Therefore, the organizational structure depends upon the activities going around the patient. The successful hospital is based upon a tired, good community oriented planning, good design and construction and good administration. A progressive hospital will build its services on certain knowledge of the community it is to serve. Organization is not viewed merely as a structure these days. It is a process of achieving the objectives by grouping people in order to get the work done. The ultimate aim of the hospital is to provide optimum health care. A hospital by its very nature is a physical plant created for the purpose of health care of the patients. Since its mission is health care, the functional department of clinical services is the most important division of a hospital. However, the clinical services division needs supportive services like pharmacy and nursing and administrative support of office. Suitable departments for pharmacy, nursing and office and accounts administration are commonly found in all hospitals. The hospitals being physical plant needs maintenance and safety. It also should have sound housekeeping. Maintenance head and housekeeping heads are given now a status equal to other departmental heads. Organization is dynamic process of achieving objectives by grouping people in order to get the work done. The ultimate aim of hospital is to provide optimum health care. Clinical services is the most important division of a hospital. The most important body of any hospital is the governing body or board of directors of board of trustees. Principles of organization. Organization is based upon the following principles: team or coordinator, division of services. Team coordinator. Team coordination is the unification, integration, synchronization of the efforts of group members so as to provide unit of action in the pursuit of common goals. It is a hidden force which binds all the other functions of management. According to Money and Relay, coordination is orderly arrangement of group efforts to provide unity of action in the pursuit of common goals. According to Charlie Worth, coordination is the integration of several parts into an orderly whole to achieve the purpose of understanding. Management seeks to achieve coordination through its basic functions of planning, organizing, staffing, directing and controlling. That is why coordination is not a separate function of management, because achieving of harmony between individuals' efforts towards achievement of group goals is a key to success of management. Coordination is the essence of management and is implicit and inherent in all functions of management. A manager can be compared to an orchestra conductor, since both of them have to create rhythm and unity in the achieves of group members. Coordination is an integral element or ingredient of all the managerial functions as discussed below. An individual is left left here to the care of professional team of medical or paramedical staff. The services are interested and coordinated. Division services. A doctor, the well-known management guru, observes activities analysis is an important uh, criterion to shape the organization. Hospital as an organization has to undertake a number of activities: diagnosis, treatment or therapy, rehabilitation, education and preservation. These activities are future subclassified and Groups and subgroups are formed to carry out these activities. The whole workload is divided into manageable unit of health services. Each unit contributes to the total spectrum of health services that are feasible in terms of the type of community it serves and the overall pattern of health facilities of the region in which it exists. Diagnosis. Medical diagnosis is the process of determining which disease or condition explain a person's symptoms and signs. It is most often referred to as diagnosis with the medical context we being implies the information required for diagnosis is typically collected from a history and physical examination of the person seeking medical care. Often, one or more diagnostic procedures such as medical tests are also done during the process. Sometimes posthumous diagnosis is considered a kind of medical diagnosis. Diagnosis is often challenging because many signs and symptoms are non-specific. For example, redness of the skin, erythema, by itself is a sign of many disorders and thus does not tell the healthcare professional what is wrong. Thus, differential diagnosis, in which several possible explanations are compared and contrasted, must be performed. This involves the correlation of various pieces information followed by the recognition and differentiation of patterns. Occasionally, the process is made easy by a sign or symptom or a group of several that is pathognomonic. Diagnosis is a major component of the procedure of a doctor's visit. From the point of view of statistics, the diagnostic procedure involves classification tests, treatment or therapy. As a rule, each therapy has indication and contraindications. There are many different types of therapy. Not all therapies are effective. Many therapies can produce unwanted adverse effects. Treatment and therapy are generally considered synonyms. However, in the context of mental health, the term therapy may refer specifically to psychotherapy. Level of care classify healthcare into categories of chronology, priority, or intensity as follows. Emergency care handles medical emergencies and is a first point of contact or intake for less serious problems, which can be referred to other levels of care as appropriate. Intensive care, also called critical care, is care for extremely ill or injured patients. It thus requires high resource intensity knowledge and skill as well as quick decision making. Ambulatory care is care provided on an outpatient basis. Typically, patients can walk into and out of the clinic under their own power, hence, ambulatory, usually on the same day. Home care is care at home, including care from providers such as physicians, nurses, and home health aides, making house calls, care from caregivers such as family members, and patient self-care. Primary care is meant to be the main kind of care in general and ideally a medical home that unifies care across referred providers. Secondary care is care provided by medical specialists and other health professionals who generally do not have first contact with patients. For example, cardiologists, urologists, and dermatologists. The patient reaches secondary care as a next step of primary care, typically by provides referral, although sometime by patient self-initiative. Tertiary care, a specialized consultative care, usually for inpatients and on referral from a primary or secondary health professional in a facility that has personnel and facilities for advanced medical investigation and treatment such as a tertiary referral hospital. Follow-up care is additional care during or after convalescence. Aftercare is generally synonymous with follow-up care. End of life care is care near the end of one's life. It often includes the following: palliative care is supportive care, most especially but not necessarily near the end of life. Hospice care is palliative care very near the end of life when cure is very unlikely. Its main goal is comfort, both physical and mental. Lines of therapy. Treatment decision often follows formal or informal algorithmic guidelines. Treatment options can often be ranked or prioritized into lines of therapy: first line therapy, second line therapy, third line therapy, and so on. First line therapy is the first therapy that will be tiered. Its priority over other options is usually there, formally recommended on the basis of clinical trial, evidence for its best available combination of efficacy, safety and tolerability are chosen based on the clinical experience of the physician. If a first-line therapy either fails to solve the issue or procedures intolerable side effects, additional therapies may be substituted or added to the treatment regimen, followed by third-line therapies, and so on. An example of a context in which the formalization of treatment algorithms and the ranking of lines of therapy is very extensive is chemotherapy regimens. Because of the great difficulty in successfully treating some forms of cancer, one line after another may be tired. In oncology, the count of therapy lines may reach 10 or even 20. Often, multiple therapies may be tired simultaneously. Thus, combination chemotherapy is also called polychemotherapy, whereas chemotherapy with one agent at a time is called single agent therapy or monotherapy. Adjuvant therapy is therapy given in additional to the primary, main, or initial treatment but uh, simultaneously. Neoadjuvant therapy is that begun before the main therapy. Thus, one can consider surgical excision of a tumor as the first-line therapy for a certain type and stage of cancer, even though radiotherapy is used before it. The radiotherapy is neoadjuvant. Pre-medication is conceptually not far from this, but the words are not interchangeable. Cytotoxic drugs to put a tumor on the ropes before surgery delivers the knockout punch are called neoadjuvant chemotherapy, not pre-medication, whereas things like anesthetics or prophylactic antibiotics before dental surgery are called pre-medication. Step therapy or stepladder therapy is a specific type of prioritization by lines of therapy. It is controversial in American healthcare because, unlike conventional decision making about what constitutes first line, second line, and third line therapy, which in the US reflects safety and efficacy first and cost only according to the patient's wishes. Step therapy attempts to mix cost containment by someone other than the patient into the algorithm. Therapy freedom and the negotiation between individual and group rights are involved. Rehabilitation is process of helping an individual achieve the highest level of function, independence and quality of life possible. Rehabilitation does not reverse or undo the damage caused by disease or trauma, but rather helps restore the individual to optimal health functioning and well-being. Education and prevention. Hospital organization arrange educational training. This facility particularly for medical students, pharmacists, nursing, medical technologists, and allied health professionals help to fulfill their curriculum requirement. Homogeneous approach. A hospital provides both inpatient and outpatient services. The organization from a homogeneous approach with a common or combined services. Principle of organization. Fourth, evaluation of services. Services provided by the hospital should be measured in terms of quality and adequacy for meeting the patient and community requirements. 5. Administrative responsibilities. Hospital administrators are responsible for organizing and overseeing the health services and daily activities of a hospital or healthcare facility. They manage staff and budget, communicate between departments, and ensure adequate patient care. Almost other duties. Responsibilities is serve as a liaison among governing boards, medical staff and department managers, organize, control and coordinate services as per the hospital board regulations, perform all duties within HIPAA regulations, oversee the development and implementation of programs and policies for patient services, quality assurance, public relations, and department activities, evaluated personnel and prepare daily reports, assists with recruitment, consenting, screening, and enrollment of personnel, practice financial acumen in managing budgets, authorize admissions or treatment as per agreed protocols, ensure that stock levels are adequate and orders are made on time, communicate medical results to patients under clinical supervision, sterilize instruments in accordance with OSHA requirements, complete timely and accurate documentation of patient visits. Responsibilities should assigned appropriately. Once responsibilities is assigned, accountability should be reported to the superior for its performance. It is necessary to ensure high quality of patient care. Budget preparation and financing. This is the say that various clinical unit heads present their departmental budget requests to the finance department of the organization, which compiles the various components into the master budget. Then the finance department present the budget request to the budget committee or the top management, and once all budget negotiation and revisions have been completed between department heads and top managers, the budget finally will be approved. But what I want to know is that the extent to which clinicians or medical professionals such as doctors and nurses participates in budgeting process in hospitals. Do clinicians in hospitals really have budget responsibility in managing their unit? Of course, it may vary from one hospital to another depending on the place or context, but I want to know the practice in which the majority of hospitals follow the different places. The ability of small hospitals to survive largely depends on external factors such as state and federal health care legislation, and internal factors such as the preparation of a successful financial budget. The focus of this report is the preparation of the small hospital financial budget. Talent search. A good hospital organization should be staffed by competent medical and non-medical staff. The organization should formulate a program to attract good physicians or surgical specialists to maintain optimum occupancy of inpatient facilities and full utilization of outpatient facilities. A hospital should be staffed by competent medical experts and non-medical staff. The organization should formulate a program to attract good physicians and surgical specialists as well as to attract the patients. Governing body. Each hospital has top management to decide its course of action and policy guidelines and to exercise overall supervision and control. It has the legal and moral responsibilities for the conduct of the hospital as an institution. It is accountable to the patient, staff community, and the sponsoring organization. The legal status of the hospital due to a character or the parent body, a society, a trust, a company, etc. The powers derived from its legal status are exercised through a body called the governing body. It may be variously named a board of trustees, board of governors, board of directors, commissioners, etc. The board assumes complete authority over the responsibility for the conduct of hospital staff and is responsible to the community or the beneficiaries it serves either directly or indirectly through the parent body by which it was created. Each hospital has the top management which directs its course of action and which provide policy guidelines and exercises overall supervision and control is assumed the legal and moral responsibilities for the conduct of hospital as an institution. It is responsible to the patient, to the community and the sponsoring organization. Administration. Administration is a process of systematically arranging and coordinating the human and material resources available to any organization for the main purpose of achieving stipulated goals of that organization. When applied to the school system, the process is referred to as the definition of administration refers to the group of individuals who are in charge of creating and enforcing rules and regulation or those in leadership positions who complete important tasks. An example of administration is the President of the United States and the individuals he appoints to support him. The active management of hospital is delegated by the Board of Trustees who select the administrator and his associate staff, assistant supervisor and department heads. The hospital administrator must know and understand his community, its people, their historical traditions, the value structure that is at work, the resources available, and the weakness to be renoked with any course of action. Armed with this knowledge and understanding, we must educate the community to his enterprises its goal, its problem, its needs, and its opportunities for contribution to the community. Administrator. The administrator is selected by the board of run the hospital. The board serves as a guide and counselor to him and leaves the nitty-gritty of day-to-day administration of the hospital to him. The board restricts itself to policy formulation. The administration execute these policies. The administrator is a link between the board and the clinical services and between the board and all other employees. The administrator's job is onerous and requires delegation of matching authority to carry out his heavy responsibilities. The administrator attends the meeting of the governing body. He frames the overall administrative policies. He is privileged to attend the meeting of medical staff. The administrator is empowered to modify the internal organization of the hospital in response to current operation condition. He is in charge of the admission and discharge of all patients. He does not interfere in the clinical activities of the hospital but brings the lapses in conforming to overall policy of the hospital to the notice of Chief of Staff. The administrator is a link between the board and the medical staff and also between the board and all employees. The administrator ensures the compliance of legal formalities he oversees. The training of interns, student nurses, volunteers, and auxiliary workers. He ensures smooth running of the outpatient department. Responsibilities of administrator. The modern hospital administrator should be a specialist in administration, an educator, a community advisor, and an organizer. Reporting to the governing body, he has responsibility for the operation of the entire institution, assuring the medical and scientific staffs, the trustees, and the patients of the highest possible standards of both service and economy. Within the hospital, he plans, directs, and coordinates activities which outside the institution would be complete, entitled, entities in themselves food service, laundry, pharmacy, and outpatient clinic. The future of the institution depends in significant measure on the vision of the hospital administrator. The main function of the administrator is to enforce trustees' policy in the daily management routine. Summary: in this class we discussed about organization, principle of organization, responsibilities of an administrator. Thank you. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.